Okay, so our first presentation this afternoon is all about BI4, and this was a presentation that was presented at the recent SAP Business Objects User Conference in Anaheim in June by SAP. And BI4 4.1, as I mentioned, was released about 6 weeks ago, and we're already at Service Pack 1. BI 4.0 is sitting right now at Service Pack 7, I believe. And anybody looking to migrate to BI4 from this point onwards would be well advised to go straight to 4.1. You know, there's no point in going to 4.0 anymore. How many people here in the room are actually running 4.0 today? Okay. Yeah, why? I feel sorry for you. Yes. The SAP unfortunately left out a couple of things when they released 4.1, and one of the things they left out was the inclusion in the migration utility to take content from 4.0 to 4.1. So you can no longer use the migration tool to move from 4.0 to 4.1. You have to use instead the Lifecycle Manager tool, which of course is a promotion tool, which wasn't designed for doing mass migration. It was designed for promoting things from one environment to another. So that just makes it a little more, let's say, challenging. Right? It's quite possible everything can be done, but it's not as smooth and as quick as the migration utility. So it's much easier to move from 3.1 to 4.1 than it is to move from 4.0 to 4.1.
There is a workaround. There is a workaround for that. You can use the Windows command prompt and call the upgrade manager, you know, on the command line with an option. And it's been so long since I did it, I can't remember.
There are several get-arounds actually. We're going to be talking about a couple of them today as well. There's third-party tools that will allow you to quickly do bulk migrations from one environment to another. You know, I was in the UK a few weeks ago, and I was speaking to a customer there that had tried to go from 4.0 to 4.1, and they were very upset. And they work very closely with SAP, they're a global company. And the reason that they were so upset was because they felt as though that SAP hadn't done their homework as far as looking at LCM, at the Lifecycle Manager, and making sure that it would do everything smoothly. You know, I think the thing to do is, if you have a smaller environment, I don't think it's going to be a big issue. If you've got a lot of things to move, I think you need to do some experimentation and figure out what's going to be the best way for you to go. But that only affects those customers at 4.0. Those who are still running 3.1 or XIR2, no problems at all. You can go directly from XIR2 or from 3.1 straight to 4.1 using the migration utility, and that works. That works nicely. So what we're going to cover today is just the deltas in terms of what's changed between 4.0 and 4.1, because as with these .1 releases from Business Objects SAP, you tend to find that it doesn't just include fixes, but there's a whole bunch of new products, enhancements, and so forth, and this release is no different to that. So again, because of that, you do want to look at, you know, don't try to do an in-place upgrade. That will be a disaster. Definitely put it on another VM, another server, and migrate to it. Trust me. You know, if you're doing a first-time install, it's not going to be a problem at all. You realize that you have to do that. If you're coming from the world of 3.1 and XIR2, you're probably running a 32-bit server environment. 4.1 is a 64-bit architecture. You're going to need approximately, right, rule of thumb is twice as much CPU power and twice as much memory. Okay, so if you think you've got an optimal performance right now at 3.1, just double it, and that's what you should have for 4.1. In some cases, it'll be a little bit of overkill, but it's better to err on the side of having too much than not enough. So again, pretty much any, I think it's from Service Pack 2 onwards of XIR2 will be supported by the migration utilities. If you happen to be on a release earlier than that, like XI or Business Objects version 6.5, then you're going to have to do a two-step process and get yourself to 3.1 first and then right to 4.1. Okay. So let's just talk about the updates. Let's talk to them about the differences in terms of the platform. One of the things that has been released with 4.1 is a new system configuration wizard, which is kind of nice, especially for those people coming from 3.1 and XIR2, that now there's a wizard that will walk you through the actual migration utility and process. So that's a nice thing. There's been changes to the upgrade management tool as well. That again have made things a little bit easier for if you're bringing across Active Directory or LDAP or SAP users if you're in an SAP ERP environment. Also, multi-tenancy is supported now as well in 4.1. So if you happen to be running an instance that's being shared amongst multiple clients, multiple customers, the multi-tenancy capability is now there available with 4.1. If you decide to stick it in the cloud because you're integrating it with another application where Business Objects is being reporting BI engine, another application, you can now support multi-tenancy. Single sign-on to HANA. Anyone have a HANA here? There's Honeywell is here. Somebody else have a HANA? Yeah? Oh, you're on it. Honeywell HANA. Okay. Also, some other small enhancements here, but one that's very interesting is the RESTful Web Services SDKs are being delivered with 4.1. They are actually in SPF 7, I think, or SPF 6 or 7 of 0 as well. But these are quite significant because part of the problem that a lot of people who customize Business Objects environment, particularly things around web intelligence, had when they moved to 4.0, there was no .NET SDKs anymore. And so you were left with Java SDKs. And the Java SDKs, well, again, SAP forgot about web intelligence. And so you can only do some very basic things from a platform level. But they decided now to move to RESTful Web Services, and as a result of that, they've released these brand new SDKs, which are much more conducive to customization for web intelligence. And so this will be very useful for those people who want to integrate Webby into other applications and so forth. They have the same kinds of capabilities that you used to have in the old APIs with .NET. Also, JSON format is now supported as well. This is very useful for HTML5 in particular. If you're building HTML5-based applications, and that's now that format is now supported with 4.1. BI Launchpad, that of course replaced InfoView in BI4, so some enhancements have been made there to Launchpad, more collaboration capabilities, new security rights, and integration with SAP's Jam, which is the new collaboration tool that's really replacing Streamworks, which is their older collaboration tool. Jam, I think, is going to be a bit more user-friendly and people might adopt it. Collaboration, by the way, is becoming a very significant feature in business intelligence in general. when people talk to me about, well, what does the next generation of business intelligence bring that we don't have already? We already know about reporting and analysis and and dashboarding and so forth. So what is the next generation bringing? And one of the key things is collaboration, because as business intelligence has become pervasive out there and everybody is using it, so has the need to communicate about it as well. So, we'll talk a little bit about some of the enhancements of domain mobility, for example, but all the mobile applications that you see today, especially on iPad, give you the ability to annotate, right? So that you can draw with your finger on top and then email, right, that dashboard or that report with the annotation on top of something, okay? That's the simplest form of collaboration. But what is far more interesting is to be able to add your own notes and content about something you're seeing, and for that to be written back so that others, when they pull it up, they can now see what you wrote about it, and you can start to have true discussions and collaborations around that business intelligence content. And so that's happening all the more now. And for those of you who are big users of social media like Facebook and LinkedIn and so forth, you know all about collaboration already. The LinkedIn groups are a great, a great example of that. And so the business intelligence content is no different. Anyone buy Twitter shares today? I want to know who those insiders were who got the shares for $26, and then at the opening bell, right, it started at $45. Yeah. Wow.
It was 46 when I was driving down here.
So those guys made about a $1.3 billion killing in seconds.
Yeah, all the corporations or whatever they are.
Yeah, it's not me or you, is it?
No. Big investors.
Yeah.
Paul secretly has Twitter shares.
If he did, he wouldn't be here.
I'd be celebrating. Okay. BI workspaces. This, the workspace, and again, just very minor changes here. Anybody here actually use BI workspaces at all? Right? Does anyone even know what they are? Well, you might remember the old dashboard builder product, right? It's the ability to bring content together, right, into a single portal, so that perhaps you build a workspace, right, that would have some Crystal content with some Webby content and some Excelsius content, and they can all collaborate and talk to each other, so that when you change something in the Crystal report, it passes information into the dashboard and so forth. And so rather than just have a generic portal, landing portal like Launch, like the Launchpad, instead you can create custom style portals with the BI workspaces, where perhaps for the HR department or perhaps for the accounting department, they have their own BI workspace, which only has content relevant to them in it that's already set up. Okay. I love to talk about these things because nobody knows about them. Nobody uses them. Right?
If they've been to our admin class at IBIS for the last 2 years running, that not only know what workspaces are, they've built them.
Okay, great.
Just to let you know.
Good. Anyway, so some additions to adding support for background image and or color, so you can make them look even nicer now. Pictures there in the background, and adding support for Explorer documents. So in addition to Webby Crystal dashboards, you can now support Explorer documents in the BI workspaces as well. The semantic layer. As you're probably all aware, the semantic layer changed with BI 4.0 for the first time in its history. It was rewritten, and as a result of that, we had a new universe designer, which is now called the IDT, the Information Design Tool. And the big change in the Information Design Tool was the ability to be able to go against multiple data sources. In the old Universe Designer, you were kind of limited one universe, per data source. Now with the IDT, you can have, a universe that can have multiple connections to the same data source or connections to multiple data sources, right? And those data sources are no longer limited to just relational database type data sources. There's also now OLAP data sources that we can access directly and generate multi-dimensional query MDX instead of SQL to go against those multi-dimensional sources. So you could go against Microsoft OLAP, right, for example, or SAP BW is another big one in terms of OLAP space and so forth. And so there's been further enhancements made to the semantic layer with 4.1, support of more sources. Teradata 14 is now supported. Oracle Exadata, their big data box is now supported. Hadoop, Amazon OData, XML web services. All these are now legitimate data sources for the new IDT and the semantic layer. Also, data federation supports federated tables now, and there are now SDKs for the semantic layer as well, so you can customize that piece of it too. So that's pretty much the platform stuff that I'm going to cover today. So now let's look at the client tools, and let's start with Crystal Reports. Remember, BI4, there are now two versions of Crystal Reports, two distinct versions of Crystal Reports. There's now Crystal Reports 2013 is part of BI 4.1. So a new version, you go from Crystal Reports 2011 to Crystal Reports 2013 that comes out with 4.1. And that is the traditional Crystal Reports, that is the desktop tool that you all know and love and have been using for 40 years. I'm sorry, the young people in the room would not. Everybody else. And okay.
Building blocks.
Yes. And then there is the brand new version of Crystal that was written from scratch, right, and has been integrated into the BI4 platform itself, known as Crystal Reports for Enterprise. And this is a new version of Crystal. It's much more Webby-like in terms of the fact that it's tied into the platform itself. And so therefore, it's a client service, it's a thin client, sorry, a browser-based access into Crystal. And it had a lot of initial startup problems with BI 4.0. But we saw with the later service packs, it started to settle down a little bit. And with 4.1 now, people are starting to look at it again as a viable solution. What's interesting is that new features will be put into Crystal Reports for Enterprise that won't be in Crystal Reports 2013. And so therefore there could be some advantages going forward, right, in looking at the Crystal Reports for Enterprise. So now you can have freehand SQL command objects, and also there's a verification of database options. New data sources that it can go against as well, SAP BW obviously, and also directly against SAP ERP modules like ECC, so that you can now with 4.1, right, with Crystal Reports for Enterprise, go directly against the ERP layer there. How many people use SAP ERP? Honeywell, of course. Anyone else? No? Okay. Enhanced support for HANA as well. And also some mobile viewers and OEM. It can now support Arabic.
Yeah.
No, I was just looking at that and I'm going, wow, that's really cool, because that's a heat map, right? And so just, and of course, what you forget in the languages that are right to left, right? Is it right to left? like Arabic, you know, the menus are on the other side, so you know that really throws me. I can get used to reading one way, but then the menu, oh yeah, it should be over there, but it's over there. Right. And then changes to web intelligence. And as I mentioned earlier, the RESTful SDKs are very significant here, so that we now have the ability to customize our web intelligence. All the menus and functionality within Webby can now be customized with these SDKs. The user interface, right, can be modified and changed using these APIs. And then some other nice enhancements. Now this one everyone's going to get really excited about, the freeze header. Okay, I mean everyone's been asking for this for years. In fact, I think 10 years at least. But it's this simple ability that you've had for years in Excel to freeze the headers and scroll, right, the rest of the data. Okay, and it's so annoying that you can't do that in web intelligence, and that's part of the reason why so many people end up publishing their Webby reports back into Excel, right, just for that feature. All right, so with 4.1, it's finally there. So you have the freeze header. There's also custom color palettes and alignment as well, so you can make your Webby reports look even prettier and more dazzling. Also, auto refresh option for both at the server and at the document level as well. Merged objects are now allowed in the hierarchies, and some usability enhancements around report header and footer and the fold unfold function, list of values. So some nice things that, you know, are overdue, but now they're here in the 4.1 version as well. And then obviously working with SAP's primary platforms as well, enhancements made there both with BW and with HANA. Explorer also has been updated for 4.1. So now you're allowed to create information spaces both on top of the UNV and the UNX. So that's now available with 4.1. Also some improvements in the workflows and better integration with HANA, and a new tool to help you manage your information spaces as well, to make it easier to change sources, configure, so forth. Okay, so that's Explorer. How many people here use Explorer and actually have Explorer deployed? A couple. Okay, that's good. Have you guys tried out Lumira? No? Okay. Just interested. Lumira is a new analysis tool from SAP, and they're giving it away for free right now. So it's a good time to try it out. But it looks just like Tableau. Everything's starting to look like Tableau these days. But when I look at the base functionality of it, I kind of think, gosh, it looks like Explorer did a few years ago in terms of what it's trying to achieve, that discovery space, you know, the ability to go into a set of data and explore it and figure out what's really happening and what's going on, and so forth. So I see in the next few years that could easily overlap Explorer, which is why I asked the question. Okay, we can make this presentation available to you as well, and there's sources that you can go to. Dashboards, also some enhancements in Excelsius or SAP Dashboards 4.1. For the first time, they now will support offline dashboards, so that you can actually download data and use the dashboard offline without being connected to the data source. However, from what we have seen so far, it's a little limited. And that's not necessarily because of their solution. It's because, you know, if you look at Excelsius, it's written in Flex. And Flex was never designed, you know, for, you know, standard offline usage. So it works quite well if you've got a set of data which is a few hundred or a few thousand rows running on a desktop PC. But if you try to deploy it through mobile BI onto an iPad, you will be very limited. We couldn't. We had a customer that couldn't even get 2,000 rows to work on the iPad. It actually tapped out where the iPad itself gave a message saying, you know, too much data. So, but if you're using it on desktops, you shouldn't have an issue. Another nice new feature with Excelsius is the dynamic positioning of components now. So you can actually go in and plot or actually specify the XY coordinates to get it exactly right instead of guessing. Right. Yeah, I gotta go there, go there, you know, drag it over there. So now you can actually go in and actually put those X and Y coordinates, you can see there at the bottom, to put them in as well. Also, the new accessibility option as well in the preferences for dashboards. So this is, that's for navigation purposes. And then this one just floored me. I don't know why they see it as an enhancement, but they have decided to rename some of the components. They haven't changed the components, they're just calling them different names. So from now on, the combination chart will be known as the column line chart, and the bubble chart will be known as the bubble plot, and the XY chart will be known as the scatter plot. Don't ask me why, but somebody in the room is going to come up with, yeah, I know exactly why they did that. Right?
Does SAP really have a whole department that just comes up with new names for things? Because they're constantly just renaming stuff.
Right.
I mean, that looks like they're trying to make it the same names as Excel uses.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you're right. I think they're trying to get more industry standard here. Plus, they have so many tools that now produce charts and graphs of this type that they've got to try and get consistency across their own product set in terms of what they're calling it.
Why?
Right?
Why would you want that?
So why call it a combination chart in Excelsius when you're calling it a column line chart, right, in Lumira? Right? It doesn't make sense, right, because it's the same chart. Yeah, so you're right. You're right. Thank you.
They bought the Excel for Dummies
No, no thank you, Alan. I was just being facetious. You know that. So, okay. SAP Business Objects Analysis. How many people here use analysis today? This is the tool that replaced Voyager, right? It's an OLAP tool for going against OLAP data sources like BW, Microsoft OLAP, Essbase.
Our pilots still use OLAP intelligence, so.
Wow. Okay, so you're even further behind.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's okay. Anyway, so this tool is coming along nicely. The people who really love this tool are SAP BW customers because it's a really good alternative to BEX, and really allows them to do much better types of reporting instead of having to publish everything straight into Excel. They can actually, you know, get some very nice analyses done with this. And there's two editions of it. There's the edition for OLAP, which was primarily designed to go against BW, and then there's the edition for Microsoft Office, which was designed to go against other OLAP data sources outside of BW. So since nobody's using it, you're not going to be that interested by the by the enhancements here. But as you can see, yes, now you can go against Oracle, Essbase, in the edition for OLAP, simplified charts, right to left support as well. Okay, so the BI clients that are supported by BI 4.1, Lumira desktop, the product I just talked about here, the analysis edition for Microsoft Office, the new Visual Design Studio, which is a tool for generating dashboard-like outputs in HTML5, the Business Objects Mobile BI, and also now desktop intelligence. And this is really interesting because over 10 years ago, Business Objects announced the end of life for desktop intelligence, or DESKI as we fondly know it, and they kept including it in one release after another. They came along in XIR2, then in XI 3.1, and they said, nope, we are going to draw a line in the sand with BI4. It will not be supported. Well, guess what? At 4.1, it's back. Right? But it's back in a kind of a more limited way, in the sense that you have to run it as a full client on the desktop. So now you can actually take your content from XIR2 or 3 repositories and put it into the BI 4.1 repository, but for execution purposes it has to run from the desktop. So you can access, right, the object in the repository, but you're going to be running on the desktop itself. And how many people here are still using desktop intelligence? Okay, and would it be of interest to you to be able to bring it forward into 4.1? Okay, all right. So I'll talk a little bit about that as well. So Lumira is now, you know, the new baby at SAP. So this is the one that everyone's talking about at SAP. So if you get a sales pitch from SAP, it won't just be HANA anymore. It'll be HANA and Lumira that you will hear a lot about. Okay, so and the tool is really coming along quite nicely. However, you know, if you look at the starting point, you know, which is 0, it's still got a long way to go. They're bringing out releases almost every month, so you're getting a new update almost every month to Lumira. So right now it's sitting at SP11. Well, it might be higher than that by now. But they're starting to integrate it more, so it talks with more things. The idea behind it is it is a desktop analysis tool for the power user. And that's why I say it looks very much like Tableau as well. So the idea behind it is that a desktop user can connect to almost any data source out there. It almost follows the old principle of Crystal Reports. If anyone remembers Crystal Reports 25 years ago, right, the big selling point of Crystal Reports was, hey, you know, we can go against any application, any database, any type of file format, right, so you can produce reports from it. Well, this is what's behind tools like Tableau and now Lumira. Hey, this is a power desktop tool where you can now go against any data sources and produce nice, you know, BI analysis and BI content. But it is not a tool for the general user. Right, so don't be fooled by any of the marketing hype you hear. It is not a tool for somebody to go in and just quickly do self-service reporting. Forget it. Right, this is a heavy-duty analysis tool for people who understand the data, people who know what they want to look for, right, and want to use a power tool in order to do that. So training would be required, and good knowledge of the data and so forth. So there's the OLAP analysis in Microsoft Excel. That now supports waterfall charts and single sign-on. This is the new Visual Design Studio. Again, a lot of enhancements have been made there. Now they're supporting animated HTML5 charts. Again, this product is coming along a long way. It's being used heavily by people with SAP BW. It's not really a viable alternative for dashboards Excelsius at this point in time. Maybe in a couple of years, but not right now. So they've got custom style sheets in here, supported global parameters. You can tell this presentation was put together by SAP. You really do emphasize those points. Oh, yes, okay, mobile 5.0. Some great features in the latest version of BI Mobile. It's now really become the single container for all the business objects and content for mobility. So now it will support Crystal, it will support Webby, it will support Excelsius dashboards, it will support Exploration View, so Explorer doesn't have to have its own Explorer for iPad any longer. All of it can now be put together under the single mobile application of BI Mobile, and it's available on the iTunes Store, it's available on the Play Store for Google, it's available for BlackBerry. Nice, done a nice job there as well. Again, they've enhanced the features on the actual downloadable app itself. So you have integration now with Jam, support of the BI inbox, so you can send information there. And this is a nice one. I've been playing with this a lot, and people think it's a real woo, where you have the ability to attach voice while annotating. So what you can do is, when you annotate, if you're interested, I'll show it to you during the break because I'm already over my time. But you can talk, and it will capture what you're saying and attach it as an external voice, WMV file to the email that you then send on to someone. So as well as the annotation where you've drawn the circle, the arrow, you've also got your dialogue, as part of that attachment, as part of that email that you click on, and then you can hear what the person says. Take a look at this. This is what I meant. I couldn't write it, but I'm telling you what you need to look at. Right? Okay? So I like that. That's kind of cool. Some support of the Sybase on Web platform, tighter device integration, there's a new home screen, and so forth. And there's also, this is a big feature for everyone, the SDKs have finally been delivered for mobile BI, which means that you can now, like for example in Excelsius, you had the ability from Service Pack 5 BI4 onwards to be able to generate most of the components in HTML5. But none of the third-party components were supported. So if you wanted to use, the Google Maps plugin from Centagon and other components like from Infoburst and so forth, none of that was supported. But now, with 4.1, they've delivered the SDK, so all of those are now being certified. And so they will now be supported with 4.1. And it also allows you to create your own customizations and your own HTML5 components that could be utilized alongside these as well. Okay. Talked about Design Studio with mobile is also supported as well. It also supports now Query as a web service. The first version only supported Query Builder, which is the new connectivity option available that allows you to have your universes go directly against your dashboards go directly against the universe while you're developing them. So instead of going against the Excel model, which was the traditional way to build Excelsius dashboards, you now, with the Query Builder, go against the universe and can pull those objects in directly through the universe. Okay, but now with 4.1, it also supports the QAS connector, the Query as a Web Service connector as well for the mobile HTML5 generated dashboards. Flash variables are also supported for mobile as well. So again, the advantage there is if you're generating your dashboard in HTML5, not only can it be deployed on mobile, but it can be deployed on any web browser as well. And so therefore you only create one dashboard that can be used across all devices. Okay, so that's the add-on SDK, There's a couple of slides on that, and the add-on manager there as well. So let's just quickly talk about that desktop intelligence patch. It's known as the DCP. So you often hear it referred to as the DCP, which stands for the Desktop Desky and Compatibility Patch, DCP. So it allows you, as I said, now you can take your content, your Desky content from XIR2 or XI3, you can migrate it with the migration tool straight into 4.1, but then you have to install the 3.1, right, Desky client on the desktop. But along with it, you also have to install the Webby Rich client and the conversion tool, the RCT. Okay, so you have to put all three products on the desktop, okay, in order for it to work properly. And they don't bring along any of the scheduling and publishing functionality to support Desky. So instead, if you do want to continue to schedule and publish, they have built a little routine that allows you to use the Windows Task Manager scheduler, which is really kludgy, and I don't recommend anybody does it. If you own InfoBurst, you have no problems at all, because InfoBurst works with Desky at 3.1 and will work the same with 4.1 as well, so that will be easy. But you really don't want to mess around with that Windows Task Manager. That is not pretty at all.
So if you have desktop intelligence in BI 4.1, you can use InfoBurst to schedule reports.
Correct. That's it. I know. Isn't that cool? Okay, and then, as I said, we'll make this available through our website. These are all the sources you can go to get more information. Sorry I overran, but as you can see, there was a lot of info there, and I wanted to fill in some of the gaps so that you understood what I was talking about. Any questions?
Can you give some more concrete examples of how collaboration would be done? I'll give you a concrete example. You tell me if it works, because we're not interested in putting reports or dashboards or anything on Streamworks, because of intellectual property concerns and so forth. But we would be interested in having collaboration, so that if you have a report that, say, like a group of people could comment on it, and then there'd be some kind of conversation about that. Let's say inside BI Launchpad, is that available? And if not, what is available in terms of collaboration?
Yeah, that's a great question, because at XIR2 and XI 3.1 you had the comments capability, and that did go across the product sets there, but it's not there, I believe, with was it there with Launchpad, Evan? I don't think.
Yeah, it's still technically part of 4, but I think it's on a deprecation lifecycle.
Right.
So it may not make it to 4.1.
Right, but that was the tool that people would use, and so then you could just pull up comments at the bottom of whatever you were viewing, and then you could see what other people had written about it. So that was the tool. Now they're moving more towards the social media type of collaboration methodology, and Jam and Streamworks are following that kind of path. But I know what you're saying. We have a lot of customers who use InfoBurst and use the write-back capability to write back comments to a private database that then gets pulled up the next time somebody pulls up the dashboard, and then that's secure within their environment. And I understand your concerns about about security and so forth if it's a public place. Yeah, can we confirm that, Evan, and then get back to Kevin and let them know?
Sure.
Right, the comments are still there in 4.1. Okay, but that would be the way to do it. There's another question, yes?
Yeah, just real quick, how does the interaction between Crystal 2013 and Crystal for Enterprise work? Like, if you develop a report in Crystal 13, can you modify it in Crystal reports for Enterprise and vice versa?
One way, but not the other, in my experience so far.
Which way? You can.
With 13, I've done it from 11, actually. into Crystal Reports for Enterprise and open them up. And you
like
get some
non-
messiness with the data sources, you have to define, because the data connectivity is handled slightly differently.
Okay.
But as a .rpt, there is some limited movement that way, but not the other way.
But they both create .rpt files?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, and again, to that point, the original intention was for them to converge.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be in 2012, but it never happened. And I think they bit off more than they could chew, to be honest, because they realized, wow, you know, there's some huge things we have to change here. But I still believe it's the overall intention in the Crystal roadmap that at some point, 2015, 2016, they will converge.
To move in the direction that enterprise is moving now.
Correct. In other words, there will be one version, not two. Okay. Yes.
Crystal 2008
Yes.
license is not compatible with 2011. So if you buy Crystal 2011 license, is it compatible with Crystal 3? Or do you need a new license?
No, they should be compatible. Are you saying if you upgrade from 2008 to 2011, or if you buy in addition to what you have in
We
2000?
upgraded from XIR to BI 4.0.
Yes.
And SAP said that we need to buy licenses. So we bought the licenses for 2011. Now the BI 4.1 is out now, so we need to buy again.
No. I don't think you should. I don't think you needed to buy the first time either. I think you had a good sales guy.
You need to talk to InfoSol and say SAP next time.
Yeah, you shouldn't. If you already owned Crystal Reports, even if it was Crystal Reports XI, you shouldn't have needed to rebuy the licenses. You should have needed to upgrade them. What could have happened, right, is that you could have bought desktop licenses that were not under maintenance, and therefore, yes, right, you would have to repurchase those. But if they were part of your original enterprise purchase and they were under maintenance, then the upgrade is free. Okay? So I suspect that's probably what happened. Either that or you've got a very clever sales guy.
It's kind of make court
Or a very dumb purchaser.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Is there anything else you noticed that went away in 4.1 that was previously in 4.0?
Anything that went away?
You mentioned like they don't include the migration tool.
Oh, no. That was an oversight. It wasn't. They didn't do it intentionally.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that was just an oversight on their part. But there isn't anything that should have gone away. No, not that I'm aware of. I didn't see anything on a deprecation list to say this is no longer supported. Yes.
Can you point to some information about business objects data services on the upgrade? You didn't mention that.
No, it's because we usually treat that separately, but that's an excellent point. I think we should do that at our next meeting because it deserves a presentation of its own, because you've got information steward in addition, right, to all the enhancements that have been made to data services itself.
And they actually did take some stuff away with this, the ABAP, be able to compile and execute or whatever. Now you have to do preloaded.
Right.
You
And
can't do it.
yeah, and now the new release is 4.2 as well, because they're a little bit ahead, right? And you can obviously share the CMS repository now with business objects. There's some nice things there, but thank you for that, because you know, on the face of it, it doesn't look as though a lot changed, but you're right. There's a lot of little things that did change from 3 to 4.
The repository became managed by the CMS now instead of by the individual repository. So now you have to sign on the CMS and then go to the repository.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, so let's make a note of that, Sean, to like data services for the next one. That's a great idea. Who else here uses data services? You guys, anyone's using SAP, anyone using data services, anyone's using HANA? Okay, well, I think it'd be good because there's some interesting stuff for everybody in that. Okay. All right, sorry, I've taken up too much time already. I will now hand over to Evan for our next presentation.